Resume recording. All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Camilla Cooper. I am one of the program managers for CalSoap Los Angeles. And this is our presentation on college loans, everything you need to know about college loans. So I hope you brought some questions should you have any off top. But we'll go through a series of slides to talk about all the different types and how to think about loans in terms of paying for school. So let's start off with your financial aid package as a whole. Now, when you get accepted to a school and you fill out your FAFSA or CADA application, you then will receive, once accepted to that school, a financial aid package or offer letter. There usually will be 4 types offered, possibly 3, depending on what school and your expected family contribution. And usually when a financial aid department combines your financial aid, they start with scholarships and grants, which are free money that you do not have to pay back. Work study, which you can be offered a certain amount of hours per semester to work to pay for your tuition, but you do have to apply for jobs on campus or off campus offered by the school. Lastly, they will have loans, and you may or may not qualify for all of them or some of them, depending on your financial situation. But this will be our focus for the presentation. Now, let's start with student loans. Let's start with subsidized. You'll hear for the most part, we encourage students to understand the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized. So subsidized loans are where the government pays interest while you're in school. Unsubsidized means the interest grows immediately. So say you take out a subsidized loan for $1,000, and by the end of your time in college, your loan will be $1,000. And then it will start building interest after you either finish school or transition out of school. Unsubsidized, you take that same $1,000 and by day one, it's accruing interest for you to start paying. So maybe by the end of your time, it's actually $1,500 and then will continue to increase in interest as you start paying it down. Both loans begin payback after graduation. You're always welcome to start paying loans during your time, but it's also an advantage when you're taking out student loans that you don't have to start paying back until after graduation. They usually have low interest rates and flexible payment plans because it is for you to go to school. Now, there are private loans that you can take out, but usually they have higher interest rates and maybe not as flexible payment plans. So that's something that you do want to keep in mind. Now, this subsidized and unsubsidized loans apply to federal and state loans. So let's look at an example. This is for the University of California. So this student, as you can see, has been offered a lot of free money, a lot of Cal grants, Pell grants, Universal Care Grant. This is all money that they do not need to pay back. And then they have been offered a direct subsidized loan and a direct unsubsidized loan. And the student has accepted both. So if we do a little bit of calculations, that means their financial aid refund for the entire year is about $9,000, which will be broken up into 3 quarters roughly, because the school operates in fall, winter, and spring. So that's roughly about $3,000 a quarter, depending. And we'll talk a little bit more about financial aid refunds because you will hear that when you get to school. Let's look at another example. Oh, I have calculations. Oh, there's my calculations. Yes. So if we take our scholarships and our grants minus the tuition and fees for the school, then we get that $9,000 refund. All right. So let's look at Cal State. Let's look at a Cal State offer letter. So what we want to pay attention is the estimated cost of attendance. We're looking at $44,000. And the award description, all of the free money and work study that they're offering, comes out to about $27,000, which means that there is a difference of $17,000 that still needs to be covered for that student. So when in this particular example, this student is being offered, again, a subsidized loan and an unsubsidized loan, which calculates to about $5,500 in loans. And even with the loans, there's still more finances that are needed, right? So it could be that you as a student say, okay, I'll take out one loan, but not the other one. So you do want to pay attention to the numbers. You want to do the math. You want to see what makes sense in terms of, do you want to accept all of these, or do you want to make a different plan for paying for the rest of your school? Now, it is a myth that turning down the loans means that somehow you will be offered more free aid. That is not true. If this student turns down this loan, there may be a chance that they are offered maybe $500 more, but it's not going to cover the cost of what's remaining. And even after saying yes to these loans, there's still a gap. So you do want to pay attention to the math. Really, how much is it going to cost for me to go to this school? How much of the free aid is being offered? How much are the loans that are being offered to me? Does it all cover? And if not, what's my plan? All right, so let's talk a little bit about the difference between federal student loans and private student loans, or private loans, excuse me. So with the federal government, payments aren't due until after you graduate, you leave school, or change your enrollment status to less than half the time. Unlike private loans, which may require you to make payments while you're still in school, which is optional for federal loans, or they may or may not allow you to put off your payments until after school, after you're finished. So either after you graduate or after you leave school, or if you change your status. So with private, there may be more of a conversation you need to have. With the federal, there's an assumption that we understand you're in school, so we'll give you a break until you're ready to start paying us back. Now, in terms of credit, you don't need to get a credit check to apply for federal student loans, except for one, which is called the PLUS loan. With private institutions, normally you do have to have an established credit line. And if you don't, then you do need to have a cosigner. That could be a parent, that could be your grandparent, but then that also means that they're financially responsible for the loan that you take out as well. So you want to be very careful about the private loan situation, especially when we're talking about credit. Now, earlier I said that the federal loans have lower rates than private loans, and that still is true. Usually, private loans will have a variable which may be higher or lower than the rates of the federal loans, but they could change during your time of having the loan. So you do want to read the fine print for private loans because they don't hold the same standard as the federal government. Now, with federal loans, you may be eligible to have some of your loans forgiven in your work and public service. So I was just talking to my colleague about the TEACH grant. There's also another grant that if you make 10 years of payments and you're in like public service or education, then they'll waive the rest of your loans. That's not the case for private loans and offerings. So they may be able to give you a more flexible payment plan, but it doesn't offer programs like the one I just mentioned. So just be aware of private personal loans. If you do need to take out loans, we always recommend that you take out the federal subsidized or unsubsidized before you go to, say, a bank or some other financial institution to take out a loan. Now, let's talk a little bit more. Let's go a little deeper in direct subsidized. So the interest, again, is paid while you're in school. It's available to undergraduate students with financial need, and the U.S. Department of Education pays for the interest while you're in school at least half time for the first 6 months after you leave school, which is considered, or which a lot of people use the term grace period. You have a 6 months grace period, and during a period of deferment. So deferment could be that you've talked to your loan officer and said, hey, like, I need some time before I can start making payments, or you travel abroad, you do AmeriCorps for a year, you can defer payments on your loans that way. Another part of your direct subsidized is that your school determines the amount you can borrow, and the amount may not exceed your financial needs. So if you only need $1,200, they will offer you $1,200. They wouldn't offer you $2,200 because it's only for the amount that you need. Understanding that there are maximums for each of these loans. So you may need to figure out a situation after you look at your financial offer letter and see what gaps are in what else you need to pay for. Should it be more? So that's direct subsidized. I feel like I had another thought about that, but we'll move on to unsubsidized. So with direct unsubsidized, interest starts while you're in school. It's available to undergraduate and graduate students, and there's no financial requirement to demonstrate financial need. Oh, that's what I was going to say about the subsidized loan. So when the school is determining your what they will offer you, it's based on your free application for financial student aid, free application for student aid, or the California Dream Act application. So based on the financial information you put there, or if you've been pulled for verification, or if you have appealed for what they currently offered you, they'll use whatever updated financial information you sent them to build what loans they will then offer. It's not coming directly from the federal government, it's coming from your school's financial aid office. So again, your school determines the amount you can borrow, and you are responsible for paying the interest while you're in school, all periods. So this concept of the 6 months grace period and stuff like that doesn't apply for direct unsubsidized loans. So one last loan that I want to speak to you about is the Direct Plus loans. It's also known as the Parent Plus loan, depending on when you're applying for this loan or when you get offered this loan. So loans made to parents of dependent undergrad students to help pay for education expenses not covered by other financial aid. Eligibility is not based on financial need, but a credit check is required for the parent. Borrowers who have an adverse credit history must meet additional requirements to qualify, i.e., possibly having a co-signer who then also goes through a credit check or other verification informations. The maximum plus loan amount you can receive is the cost of attendance determined by the school minus any other financial aid received. So again, you may not qualify for the maximum that Direct Plus offers. It would be based on the rest of your financial aid offer letter and what you accept and what you reject. So this is, if you are a undergrad, this is, you'll see on your offer letter, it'll say Parent Plus loan. If you're a graduate or beyond, it'll say Direct Plus. So let's talk about reasons why you would want to accept loans. Because a lot of times students and parents hear loans and they're like, oh no, it's so bad. Don't take out any loans. But there are reasons where taking out a loan or two or three could be a viable option for you. For example, paying off the remaining balance of your tuition. So maybe it's $1,000 or $2,000, and you're like, I applied to all these scholarships, but let me take out this loan and just continue to apply to scholarships, and then I can pay off that loan right away. You need additional money to pay for resources needed to be successful in college. So maybe you need to take out a loan to get a computer because your Chromebook from your high school, they've made you give them back to them. So now you actually don't have a laptop. So maybe you want to take out a loan to pay for a laptop so you can work on your essays and apply to scholarships and things like that. You need additional money to pay off housing or meal plan of your choice. Housing on campus sometimes can be expensive, especially if you're choosing something like a single in a dorm or an apartment or a triple or a double. It really depends on what your preferences are, and you'll be able to see based on your school's offerings for housing and meal plans. Like, you can mix and match those things to fit your financial need. Or you need additional money to pay rent if you live off campus. So maybe you need the deposit, the security deposit, and first month's rent. So maybe you want to take out a loan and then do work study on campus and pay back that loan. Those are some reasons why you may want to accept loans. When I was in college, I didn't have this kind of workshop. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to take out all the loans. Bad idea, bad idea. I didn't even think to look at my financial aid offer letter. I just accepted everything. And I don't know if that was a good choice because I didn't read it. So I'm here to tell you, read the numbers, do the calculations, because you may not have to take out as much loans or as many loans as you think if you do the math. So you've decided to take out a loan, whether it be $2,000, $10,000, $15,000, whatever your school offered. You said, year one, year three, I'm going to take out these loans. Great, amazing. So there's steps that come after that, right? So you'll have two things. You'll have something called interest counseling, which ensures that you understand the terms and conditions of your loan and your rights and responsibilities. You'll learn what a loan is, so it'll back up all of the information that we've shared with you today, your options for repayment, and how to avoid delinquency and default. Delinquency and default is if you choose not to start paying your loan off when it's time. So maybe it's that 6 months, it's the day after the 6 months of your grace period, and you do not pay anything. You don't even contact the lender. You just kind of dodging them. So that, or it goes into default, which means it goes into collections. So it gives you information about that. So you have to read through that. And that's why that's called insurance counseling. And then once you go through that, then you'll go through something called the promissory note, which you'll read through. It's a legal document in which you promise to repay your loan. So it's a legal document. Let me say that again. A legal document in which you promise to repay your loan and any accrued interest and fees to the U.S. Department of Education. It also explains the terms and conditions of your loans. You may have to do this process multiple times depending on the loans you take out and the university's requirements. So those are the two things that you need to do after you have decided that, hey, loans is what I want to do, to explore. We have a couple visuals of each of those things that I just mentioned. So interest counseling, you will go onto your student portal and it will have a task which will say interest counseling or and the promissory note. So it may take you to the student aid website, which is where you go to fill out your financial aid, where your FAFSA and your federal FAFSA. FAFSA is federal. Yes, these are images. I'm just going over my words. So it'll have visuals like this and say, log in to start for, I'm an undergraduate student. If you're a graduate student, there's one below this. And they have a PDF so you can see what's in there before you even log in, which I think is really cool. So you know what to expect. And then it gives you a lot of information on like who should be completing this, how long it will take, and then what do you need to do. So it's a great resource. The Federal Student Aid website is a great resource for loan information in general. And then specifically, once you decide that loans is what you're going to do, then they have information there for you too. So again, here's some information on the Master Promissory Note, AKA MPN, and it'll go over that information that we just shared with you, and you'll log in. There's also a PDF that you can go to so you can see what's in the documentation and how it will be when you sign those things. The interface for the MPNs is here too, so it'll tell you who should be completing this. So you want to make sure to read it to make sure that you are doing the correct steps and the correct not applications, because it's not an application, but you're going through the correct information about your terms and which loan you're taking out. Yeah, so things to remember. Save all your usernames and passwords in a safe space. So that may be your journal that you write in every day. That might be your college binder if you have one, if you built one, or your notes on your phone. I mean, I don't recommend that, but that is an option. But you want to save your usernames and passwords because it is connected to legal documents, especially the promissory note and that interest counseling. Save copies of your master promissory note. So what happened for me in college is somebody, one loan company consolidated all of UC Santa Cruz's loans and put it with Nelnet. Nelnet is a loan provider. So I went from one loan provider while I was in college to another one. So I had to look for my promissory notes to make sure that all of the ones that moved from the first company were in the second company, because that's going to affect my credit score, right? So you want to save your copies, maybe give to your parents and say, hey, can you put this with my birth certificate and I'll come back to it when I'm finished with college. Visit your school financial aid portal often to stay up to date. Because these tasks will be on your portal, there may be holds on your portal for you to complete. So you just want to make sure that you're checking your email, not your email associated with your high school, your email that you want to use for college, or your college email, because usually they give that to you as well. If your parent takes out a PLUS loan, make sure they have copies for themselves, because they are financially responsible. Should you not be responsible with paying back the loan, it falls on them. So you want to make sure, oh, excuse me, I said that wrong. No. With the parent PLUS loan, they're taking out a loan for you in their name. So you want to make sure that they have copies just in case there's any kind of discrepancies with the financial aid office. They can say, oh, here's this information. Make sure to contact your financial aid office if you have any questions. That's the first place that I would recommend that you go. If you're not sure about the conditions of your loan, if you're like, oh no, I accepted $1,000, but actually I want to up it to $1,500 and they offered you $2,000. Go and ask the financial aid office if they will help you navigate that. Or if you say, hey, I don't want to take out any loans, like what else do you have to offer? These are questions that you want to ask your financial aid office, because that's your school at the end of the day, right? So be friends with the people at the financial aid office. They may give you more information than you think. Now, I said earlier about the refund check. When I was in college, refund check was the thing you wanted, but you want to know what it means and why it's there. So A lot of students will take out more loans than they need to receive a refund check to pay for other things outside of the cost of attendance. Students could or should buy, and we're talking about needs, so laptop, like I said, other computer accessories, books, dorm room, required school supplies. Students should avoid buying clothes they want instead of need, vacation outside of studying abroad. Be aware, the more loans you take out now, the more you will pay back later, regardless of if it's subsidized or unsubsidized. So every year, if you're taking out $20,000 in loans so you can have a refund check, you're going to have to pay for that on the back end. So yes, it makes it feel a little bit more comfortable, maybe really, but when you get to finishing, when you decide that school is not for you, you'll have to pay that money back, and it may be with interest or not. So you want to make sure to just be real careful about the collegiate relationship with your other students, the other students on campus, because that was a point of coolness, but it really means you have to pay for it on the back end. So be aware, be aware. So let's talk a little bit about debt, because I think even the conversation about loans is really a conversation about debt. And there is such a thing as good debt and bad debt, and I'll tell you why. Good debt is purchasing things you need but cannot afford, and you can pay off within a reasonable amount of time. So, for example, buying a home, paying for college, loans for items you need. And then there's bad debt. There's purchasing things you want and cannot afford. What you buy accrues interest, making it more expensive than if you paid for it out of pocket. So, example, clothes, vacation, loans for items you want, not need. So there is such a thing as good debt. And some people will argue with me that like that's not true, but I do think that I personally went to college and said, okay, I'll take out these loans. I mean, it was a short conversation, but it was a conversation nonetheless where I was like, okay, I'll take out these loans knowing I'm gonna have to pay it back, but I want to go to college. So let's go to college. I could have said, I'll not go to UC Santa Cruz. That's where I graduated from my undergrad. I could have chosen to go to JC, which is much cheaper. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to leave Los Angeles, where I'm from, and go to a place that had deer and raccoons everywhere. And that's the experience I wanted. So I was like, no, I want to go. So I chose that. I'm working on paying it down, paying it off. I paid off one loan last year for the first time, and I was like, whoa, I really did that. So it's possible, but you just need to be strategic. Now, if somebody would have given me this presentation, I would have applied to way more scholarships, so I didn't have to take out as many loans. I still probably would have taken out some loans, but not as many. So that's just something, just a little tidbit. I'll get off my soapbox about good debt and bad debt. Oh, shameless plug for scholarships. So let's talk about scholarships, because yes, this is a presentation on college loans, but it's a presentation on how you are managing money. And scholarships help you manage money. So there's national search sites like College Board, scholarships.com, FastWeb, Big Future, where you can create a profile with all the things that make you you. So maybe it's you're interested in science, or you're left-handed, or things like that. And they'll send you scholarships to apply to with the deadlines. And you'll either click on their website, or you can apply through the search site. And that's going to help you whether you get 1 out of the 5 or 5 out of 5. It's going to help you because it's free money that you don't have to pay back. University websites, again, like if you're talking to your financial aid office, they're going to point you probably to the university's scholarship website. You want to go there every quarter and say, what scholarships do I qualify for? What do I need to do? Do I need to write an essay? Do I need to send them my resume? What is it that they need so that I can apply to these scholarships? It could be $25. That's $25 you didn't have before. It could be $500. That could pay for books. So then you don't have to take out that unsubsidized loan that has interest. It's a valuable resource, but you do have to invest time and energy. There are local scholarships, depending on where you are. Like, these are some examples we like to highlight, like Rotary clubs, Teamsters, City of Long Beach, any kind of library associations, any kind of nonprofit or organized a group of people that have a community service lens, or it's in their mission, or if they're a big business, like I know KFC has a scholarship for like $15,000 or something like that. Usually there's what's called a philanthropic arm to these businesses and organizations. So there is free money, you just have to find it. So local scholarships are also helpful, especially if you're like, oh, I'm from Pasadena and there's a chapter of the Delta Sigma Theta. They have a scholarship for you to apply to. And I do want to also encourage that even once you get to college, that you still apply to scholarships. There are scholarships for all the way up until your PhD. You just have to find them, be aware, spend time writing the essay, and it could be one essay that you continue to use over and over, or two, that you like chop and screw to like fit the needs of the application. But if you spend 5 hours a month or something applying to scholarships, I bet you could probably get some free money. That again, that means you don't have to pay in loans. That means you don't have to accept as many loans, or you'll have that extra $5,000 covered because you got a scholarship from your local church, right? So we just want to shameless plug the scholarships. Yeah. So that concludes our like presentation portion. The rest of our time is for questions, but I want to plug us as Cal Soap. We are an organization that really wants to educate and support young people in figuring out what they want to do life after college. So if you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, there's a bunch of information on our website. You can follow us on YouTube. This video will be on YouTube. There is Twitter, there is Facebook. We're on all those. And yeah, connect with us. We would love to help you figure out life after high school. So with
We
that,
do have sorry. We do
no,
have
go
a
ahead.
few questions. And since we're kind of towards the end of the presentation, I just figured we just answer them live. One question is there a deadline to accept subsidized and unsubsidized loans?
Usually there is, no, usually there isn't. It really depends on your school. It's something you would want to talk to your financial aid office about, because I know there's loans that you can take out like during, like, say we're in midterms. You could go to the financial aid office and say, hey, I need some funds. Is there a loan that you can offer me? So I think it depends on your school. They may say, like, initially for freshmen, you have a deadline because they want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row for the first day of school. But it's something that you would want to talk to your financial aid office about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, if there's a loan offered as far as your financial aid packet, the school usually has a deadline for you to accept your financial aid packet, because they want to make sure that once you start school, you have, your tuition is paid off, and then you have money to pay for books. So you want to make sure you accept it usually during a certain time. And whether it's subsidized or unsubsidized, the school is going to have a deadline to accept or decline any financial aid packet, including loans. Our next question is, can undocumented students apply to subsidized and unsubsidized loans. And I can take that question with Camilla. Um, Now, when it comes to undocumented students, students would have to see if they qualify, one, to apply through CADA here in California. In other states, there's different rules, but here in California, students would, one, have to fill out the CADA, which is the DREAM Act application. And when it comes to loans, each school is different. Okay. The students, uh, I'm sorry, CADA students or DREAMAC students would not qualify for any federal loans. Okay. But the institution itself may have particular loans that may be available to students that are undocumented or that are AB 540 eligible. But really, it differs from school to school, and they are very limited when they are offered. And that goes both for subsidized and unsubsidized loans. So I would say if you're in that situation, you apply for financial aid. If you're qualified and you receive your packet, is to definitely contact the university's financial aid office to see if they have loans for AB 540 or undocumented students. Question, if I choose to take out a subsidized loan 1 year and need to take another subsidized loan the next year, will the amount add up as one loan, or will it be two separate loans that I would need to pay once I graduate?
Yeah, so I think it actually depends on your school. Like I said, like UC Santa Cruz moved all of my loans. So what ended up happening is all of my subsidized loans are under NailNet. So NailNet has a breakdown of every single individual loan that I took out. And then I have what's called an income repayment plan. So it's based on how much money that I make working they do their calculations and say, this is your monthly, this is how much you pay monthly. So it gives a breakdown of how much each dollar goes to said loans, individual loans, but my unsubsidized loan went to a different lender. So that one loan was something completely different than my NailNet loan. So I think it depends on the loan agreement that the school has with which lender. A lot of a lot of people hear Sally Mae when we talk about student loan debt, and that could be the place that your school used. But again, mine uses NailNet, and they brought them all together, but you can see the differences in, like, this was a $1,500 loan, this was a $2,000 loan, and what year I took it out and what school it belongs to. So when you graduate, it could be that you pay the total, or excuse me, those two loans would be combined, and then either based on your income or based on how much the promissory note is, you may pay it separately or together. No,
Next,
it happened. Oh, sorry.
next question. Do you request your subsidized loans to be combined with one servicer, or did it happen automatically?
It happened automatically. So I was in deferment because I chose to be a part of an organization called AmeriCorps, which is a federal employment service, and you can defer your loans. So while I was doing that, my loans were deferred, and I got an email saying that UC Santa Cruz had moved lenders. So I got a username and password to the new lender, Nelmed, and that's what happened. So I didn't have any control over that, but none of the terms and conditions changed. It was just who had the documents, if that's one way of looking at it. Mhm.
When you make
No. Oh,
when you
no,
make
go ahead.
payments, is it through Federal Student Aid website?
It's not. It's through the lending company. So it was through Nelnet, and the other one was, I don't remember. It was like a red, the logo was red. I'm not sure, but no, you go into those said websites with your unique username and password and you make your payments there, or you can have them automatically take it out of your account.
Just a comment. Thank you both for answering all my questions. This information is very helpful.
Amazing, amazing. Thanks so much.
I do
So,
want to post a couple of links. Let me copy them real quick, and I will post them to the chat. There's 3 links I'm posting for additional information. The first link that I'm posting is our YouTube channel. So if you go to the chat, the first one is a YouTube channel. Now the YouTube channel is going to contain this presentation and past presentations that we've had. Financial aid is going to have this one in a few weeks. We'll upload this one. Second link on there is a first year experience program, persistence program. The first year persistence